All right, I'm here with Kathy Emery, the Director Emeritus of Experimental College, who has passed it off to me so graciously and yeah, just in such a great way last year when I was working with her throughout the year. And I just want to welcome Kathy to say hello to the rest of us and in our first inaugural newsletter. Thank you for being here, Kathy.
Well, I'm very flattered to be asked to be here, and I'm very excited about uh, that what the experimental college is continuing, and it's very healthy in spite of these sort of sick times we live in, and which is a nice thing. It's a positive thing that's happening, whereas there's lots of negative things happening in the world, and we need to have positive things in our lives. So I'm very excited that you and the ExCo teachers and students are carrying on, and the idea of students being able to teach each other and teach themselves and ask questions um, and perhaps contribute to changing the pedagogy and teaching at San Francisco State University as a result.
Awesome. Can you just tell us how long were you a teacher at SF State and what primarily did you teach besides being the director of ExCo?
Well, I taught for 13 years, and I started in the fall of 2007 with just one class, um, uh, Political Science 200. And as I continued to teach there, year after year, I got more courses, and the director, the chair of the department, actually allowed me to create some courses to teach. And so by the end, before I became, the director of the experimental college, I was teaching three upper division classes, and one was the politics of pedagogy, one was lessons from Freedom Summer, and one was the politics of community organizing.
Mm.
And I was teaching them all in a way where the students contributed to the development of the curriculum of the class, and particularly the politics of pedagogy. And that was the class where I was teaching about the experimental college in 1965 in the California Labor School, in hopes that some students would be inspired or interested in helping me recreate the experimental college today, and that's what happened. So that was cool.
Amazing. Can you tell us a little bit about your teaching experience before SF State?
I was a high school history teacher for 16 years
Mm.
in independent schools, rich kids in New York City, in and around New York City. Four different schools in 16 years. I got fired from the first three, and then I left New York City and moved here in San Francisco in 1993 and was blacklisted. So that's when I decided to go back to school and get my PhD, which then allowed me to teach at State. But it, it's very complicated how I ended up getting a teaching job at State, so I won't go into that now.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Why would you say you wanted to teach?
Well, it started out, I graduated from college in 1977,
Mm.
and that was the height of the women's movement. And but also, the civil rights movement had happened, and I was a history major, and I got hired to teach American history. And so I had majored in European history, but what I loved about history, um, I wanted my students to understand that how important history is to understanding the politics of the present.
Mm.
And also history is amazing because we don't know what happened in the past, and it's all these different interpretations. And I loved having my students debate different interpretations,
Mm.
so that and so so it was all about teaching critical thinking, teaching outside the box, but also teaching the importance of knowing our past, knowing the world's past, and understanding how that influences what we can and cannot do in the present.
Which a lot of ahistorical thinking can, through current high school classes and the media, of course, and all other kinds of mainstream education can really cloud our view of, correct?
Don't get me started.
Okay, okay, you're right. You just had me start to think there. All right. Um, Interestingly, if you think about the other side, who you were as a learner, how would you describe yourself as a learner?
Well, I thought about being a learner all the time when I taught. I mean, any good teacher has to think about, what is it that I'm asking the students to do, and is it feasible? And um, I knew that I was because I became a teacher because I was particularly interested in learning. I mean, you teach because you want to learn.
Yeah.
And I spent every summer reading history for 16 summers and rewriting my curriculum. And I love to learn. And learning is an amazing thing. But I also learned that it only is amazing if you get to answer the questions you have. And so one of the things that's really important about understanding oneself as a learner is how do you learn best? You learn best when you have a passion for the subject matter or the topic, and particularly if it's a question you want answered. And if you want it answered really badly, then you move heaven and earth to answer it. But if it's somebody else's question, you may not be particularly interested in answering it. So, you don't have the same uh, passion, which drives intelligence and discipline and organization and all that kind of stuff. And so I quickly figured out that I was instinctively what one calls a progressive educator in the history in the tradition of John Dewey and Miles Horton. And I began to learn all about the people in the past who have tried to make education student-centered rather than teacher-centered, and that's guided my whole philosophy of education throughout my entire career.
Yeah, so that probably answers the next question of what is the most exciting thing about teaching in general?
Uh, is working with students to help them answer their questions, right? And getting the students to think a little bit differently about what their role is in the classroom, because they've been trained and socialized to just sit there and do what they're told, and that's death to intellectual curiosity and passion for learning. So and getting students to have that light bulb moment go on, there's nothing like it in the world, as I'm sure you know.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know we've connected over Alfie Kohn and others as well over those
Oh, Alfie
exact
Kohn,
same
yeah,
points that you're making. Yeah,
yeah. Alfie Kohn is awesome.
yeah. Um, what has been your, greatest success or breakthrough?
Uh, well, that's I've had lots of them, but I've had to have lots of
Yeah,
breakthroughs. I've fallen down flat on my face many, many times, and most of those times have led to breakthroughs because I was got to think really about what am I doing wrong,
mm,
and a lot of it had to do with being overly ambitious. And not having the patience and humility to understand what I'm up against, and to understand that I guess I can't do it by myself. Right? That was the system. It's a system. It's an educational system, and it's
mhm,
designed to sort and socialize, and not to educate. And I'm trying to educate, and no wonder I get hit over the head so many times with a 2x4 throughout my career. And I finally figured that out. And I think that's why the 13 years at San Francisco State have been wonderful, because I'm not hitting my head. I decided to stop hitting my head against a brick wall and wait for the right moment in time, to pounce upon for there to be change. And as I always tried to teach my students in lessons from Freedom Summer, one of the lessons is that change comes at the right historical moment, which is what we're in right now. I mean, the election in November, this whole period of Trump has been the right historical moment for there to be fundamental change in America. And the only question is, have we gotten ready And are we ready? Did we spend the time, between the 60s and now getting ready to be ready?
Mhm.
And if we have, then it's going to be amazing, and we may be able to, save the planet and ourselves. If we haven't been, as a nation, as a society, then, well, it's going to be very painful and horrible. It'll be painful and horrible anyway, but it won't end well. But we still have a chance to have it end well. So, but it
Yeah.
takes, as I said many times, it takes a village, and we all need to work together and learn how to work together. And so that's what I've learned. The biggest breakthrough is learning that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I love how you say we're in the right historical moment right now. I fully agree with you. I think there's no better historical moment. Probably won't be for a while. What role does ExCo have in this historical moment, in your view?
Well, my passion for ExCo has been because it offers students a chance to um, empower themselves, understand that they have agency in their lives, that they can and one of the obstacles to creating the kind of people power that
Mm,
we need in order to change society fundamentally, as we do battle with money power, is that individual people need to understand that that they don't have to wait for Rosa Parks or Martin Luther King. That's they need to get out there and do it themselves. But there's a all their life they've been told that they can't, and I think learning by doing is so powerful, and by teaching their
mm,
own course. And they really, I've seen students in the last 3 years, uh, when I was working with them. I've seen them being transformed during the semester by teaching a course. And um, and I can't imagine anything more subversive,
mm.
in terms of a unjust status quo, than students being able to ask questions, and them really ask what questions, and really go and teach a course around the questions that they have, and decide what's important and what's relevant to their lives. That
Yeah.
it's not to say that there's no room for traditional courses, but I'm hoping that ExCo can show and demonstrate that there's also a really crucial need for all students to have the experience of teaching other students and teaching their teachers.
Yeah. Amazing. And I I love how you say subversive, but and not to contrast it with positive, but subversive and positive at the same time, right? Just
Oh
something
yeah, yeah,
positive at these times. Like we need students to be creating positive knowledge for solutions to these problems, right? And that's, yeah, I know that's what you were talking about in your statement.
yeah.
Um, I want to ask you, what advice do you have for this guy, Director Dan?
Uh, that you and your students need to take ExCo where you want to take it, not where I've been taking it. And um, everybody has to, when they are in positions of leadership, have to lead based on their own style and their own understanding of what's right. So I would say trust your gut when you make decisions. And but more practically, I would rewrite the mission statement frequently with the students,
Yeah.
and so that there's some kind of cohesion to the program. And because the students being able to decide what they want to teach, can take them, all over the place, right? There's a centrifugal force to that, and the gravity that holds everything together would be a common understanding of what, why are they teaching, what does that mean in terms of a program, what does it mean to be part of a program as opposed to just on your own in a classroom teaching students, right? What's the difference between um, being an ExCo teacher and just doing some independent study, or being a TA for another teacher, right? What's going on here that is possible because of the organization and structure and leadership of this program.
Yeah. And what's going on here that's special? That's very special,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much for that. I just had our first faculty advisory board meeting, and I highlighted my main goal to, keep this in the students' hands as much as possible and to empower the students to run this how they want to do it. So yeah, I've got my ideas, but I've also, most of them are about the faculty, creating a faculty network that we all helped start last year to
We
support
all, we
students.
all.
We all, that's what I said. Yeah, that's what I corrected myself with. And that we all, empower the students to do every year. The students graduate and they move on, and so we've got to create this faculty network that keeps a really sustainable institutional presence here, and institutional memory, and institutional value, and all of that. So that's what we're really working on. So, but that I couldn't have done it without working very closely with you last year. So I really, really appreciate you. What are your plans for retirement, Kathy?
Right. Well, I just retired, and I have collapsed from working for 13 years at a pace that threatened to burn me out. And so I have no plans. I tried to do some serious work, and I can't do it. My brain is mush. Um, I mean, it doesn't help that we had a shelter in place and all of that, but I'm very happy to be learning German. I've always wanted to learn a language. Speaking about the students deciding what they want to learn, and the last 3 years I started playing my clarinet again, and I'm just obsessed with it. And so now I get a chance to really have time for this and to stay in shape. I've finally gotten better, gotten in better shape, and lost some weight, and and I feel much better. And so, right now, and of course travel. My wife and I bought a camper van, and so, we're hoping when the fires, after the fire season abates, we can do some more traveling. We went to Oregon for 5 weeks last month, and before the fires, and so we're hoping to go to Arizona in February.
All right. All right. Well, that all sounds great. Keep us in your thoughts. I'm gonna keep emailing you with questions as I have them, and reaching out for your help. And we will invite you to the faculty advisory board meetings, and I definitely want you to meet some of the new students out in the future. So don't worry, we'll keep in touch with you. All right.
I would love that.
Yeah. We we owe you a lot. You owe us. We're all owing each other a lot. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
And
I owe you a lot because you all helped me, do something that I've always wanted to do. So,
uh,
you know.
well, you are a legend, and you created something really special, really special. So thank you so much, Kathy.